Hey guys, welcome to my intro to PowerShell series. PowerShell, if you don't know, is a Windows administrative shell and scripting language that Microsoft has integrated into most of their products. That includes System Center, Active Directory, Exchange, Azure. It's also in many third-party products have integrations for PowerShell, such as VMware with PowerCLI. PowerCLI is a really great PowerShell integration from VMware. It's amazing. And Veeam, the backup company, they have a pretty good. I've never personally used it, but they have a pretty good looking, pretty solid looking PowerShell package. And AWS is also one that pops to my mind immediately. Now, the reason I'm making this series is because I worked with, in my short tenure as an IT professional, I've worked with quite a few Windows admins who barely even knew that PowerShell existed, and that's really a shame. PowerShell is very powerful, and it is honestly the future of Windows. Microsoft is pushing very hard to rip the GUI out of Microsoft Server. In fact, I believe the recommended way to install Microsoft Server currently is Core, which doesn't have the GUI installed at all. In some cases, there are those enterprise applications that do require the GUI interface to be installed. But for most part, I think most Microsoft, except Exchange Server, most Microsoft products do not require any sort of GUI on MS Server anymore. And then the only way to really manage the server is through PowerShell. Microsoft invested heavily in this ecosystem. So, without wasting any more time, I'm gonna hop right into it. So if you open up your start menu, I'm using Windows 10. If you open up your start menu and anything, you start searching PowerShell, you'll get PowerShell right here. Now, it's worth noting what version we're on, and I have a profile that starts up, but we'll ignore that for now. I have PowerCLI. It automatically connects me to my home lab vCenter server, but we're gonna ignore that for right now. And you know what? Let me bump up the font size a little bit for you guys. Okay, so one thing, if you're following along, what you might want to do is take a look at your PS version table. If you're on Windows 10, you will have version 5. If you're on 8, you should have version 4. If you're on 7, it could be 2 or 3, depending what WMF package you have. Now, the way PowerShell versions work is they tend to come out with the Windows Management Framework packages. So if you have WMF 4, you have PowerShell 4. If you have WMF 5, you have PowerShell 5, and so on back in time. And if you're on 7, PowerShell 2 and 3 is going to be PowerShell 2 is going to be missing a lot of some of the cooler stuff in 4 and 5. So you might want to go. I'll link down in the description to PowerShell Gallery, and they have links to download the WMF stuff, which are it's just an MSU that installs the Windows updates. All right, so without any more mucking around, let me just show off something real quick. So the main thing in PowerShell is everything's commandlet. What is a commandlet? A commandlet is simply a shell command. Let's call it that. And for instance, we got get process, and they're all named really nicely. So you see, this is get process. It's what if you had to sit down and think, what would I name a script or something that would get me all the processes running on the machine? You would think get process sounds pretty good. What PowerShell has is these reserved verbs up here: add, get, connect, a bunch of stuff, and I'll show you the list. And we'll go through it a little bit, but for the most part, it's pretty PowerShell commandlets are pretty self-discoverable. You would just think, oh well, I want to get whatever, and PowerShell has pretty decent tab completion, so you can just get all this stuff. And I have a bunch of extra stuff installed. You see I have Active Directory, GetAD. All this GetAD stuff is Active Directory PowerShell modules. So the example I was going to just give is get process. This shows me every process running on my machine right now. So what can I do with this? Well, if we come up here, we see it's printed out these nice, it's like printed out a nice table. Process name, SI, the process ID, handles, NPM. So let's say we want we just want the process name. Yeah, we just want the process name. You're only going to get the process names. It's just that easy. What you're saying here is call get process, and then give me the property of each one. Just give me the property process name. What else can I do? Well, since now PowerShell is object based, so when you call something, you're going to get an object back. You're going to get a PS object, which has properties. So what we'll see here is if I make a variable, I'm going to see that I have the same things available. So you var.process name. Go with the process names, which this variable contains an array of all the process names, and it's really that simple. You know, we can do var dot it's kind of down there, var dot id, and you're going to get all the IDs. You can also do stuff. It also has a working pipe, so we could it's got an ID. PowerShell also has got a nice history. And get process, pipe that to select, and select lets you select properties. So we want we just want ID, and we just want process name. Type, and this is what you have. Oh, that's really cool. You know what's cooler? And we'll get into modules and installing modules and using some of the modules later. But I have the Active Directory module. So let me show you something really neat. Whoops. So let's say I want to get my AD user. There it is. I have my distinguished name, which is really handy. It tells me right where my user is. Given name, name, surname, user principal name, and I can query specific. And the actual, you also, for each commandlet, you have parameters, which some are optional, some are not, and some are positional and some are not. So for instance, this identity parameter is positional. So when I run get AD user debug, that's positional. But I can also, and in a script, this would be best practice, you would actually type out what it is. An identity in this case can be SIDs, it can be a couple things. For instance, if I just took my SID here, and I right click, copy that down there. Yes, SID, username, it could be a couple, it could be several things that get AD user will go in and search the Active Directory database for, or the LDAP directory. But what I can do, which is really neat, is I can say, oh, I want to see these properties, and I have a schema extension that will get me my SSH public key. If I could spell, it would get me my SSH public key. So you see here, I have my SSH public key for my account that I use for my Linux hosts in my home lab. They query the AD when I try and log in over SSH and see if my user's public SSH key matches my SSH key. So you can do this. You can do properties asterisk for all, and that'll match all properties, and you just get this. You get all the properties associated with that user in AD. So that's some of the fun stuff you can. That's some of the great stuff you can do with PowerShell, and we'll get into some of that more object parsing and stuff like that in a later episode. So the first thing I want to show you, the first thing we're really going to cover is interactive PowerShell, which is kind of what I've been showing off, but some very basic things to get you on your way and just off and running on your own. So one of the first things to understand is the verbs. So if you run get verb, you'll get a list of all the verbs in PowerShell. So, and this is what I talked about, the really nice things that make a lot of sense. So resolve, repair, submit, stop, start. So, for instance, what would you want to start a process, stop a process? Restart is on here somewhere. It's on here somewhere, I swear. Disconnect, unpublish, and more of the common ones are new and add, stuff like that. Resize, reset, rename, remove. So you can go through here and you can basically see what are approved, what are approved commandlet verbs, and any third-party integrations generally follow this. So you can rest assured that most of them will follow it. Now, okay, so sorry about that. It turns out the one I was looking for, I was thinking of service, and I was looking at process for some reason, but that one I actually wanted to demonstrate was new item. So I was going to say find a random commandlet, and the one I was trying to find was new item, which I guess wasn't random, kind of scripted, but it's the one I had. It's the one I was actually wanted to do. So new item, and what new item does is it allows us to create folders, files, stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the parents. It says path, so I'm in my p-bovate directory, so let's make one on my desktop. And let's name it, let's do a directory here. Tester. Item type. Now, when you get these type of item commandlets, they typically are called, these parameters are typically called validate sets. And what they do is they have, it's like a list, a predetermined list, so you can kind of just tab through them, and symbolic, hard link, file. So we're going to do a directory. Alright, let's do that. There you go, here's our output. It says on the desktop we created the directory tester, and actually, a nice thing about using PowerShell, especially if you're in a mixed Linux Windows environment, or if you are a Linux admin doing just some Windows work, if you're primarily a Linux environment, you can do stuff like this. Maker is aliased to new item directory. Touch is aliased to new item item type file. So if I were to touch test in this directory, I have been made a liar. Okay, I was wrong. It's not that we're not that cool, but I wasn't lying. If you make their test, we're gonna get a test directory, and then ls also works. Ls is an alias of get child item. So if I ls desktop, you will find that our tester is here, and we can remove item desktop tester, and that will have removed our desktop item, our tester, from here. Good stuff. Now, one thing I was actually about to use, because I was screwing up, because I don't have this entire thing scripted, was the help system. Now PowerShell has a very good help system, and what you can do is when you're in the command line and you're sitting here, and you know, like I showed you, I just threw some things out like get child item. What the hell is get child item? Like, I don't know. I mean, I could tab through this, but it still doesn't tell me, like, ooh, I don't know how do you use filter? How do I do this? So what you would do is you come over here, type the help commandlet, which is, I mean, the help commandlet is get help, but you can just shorten that down to help, and that'll work fine, because that's alias to get help, get child item. Okay, so I screwed up a few times, and I inverted the meaning of these. I use help, but I usually don't use it to see what's mandatory or not. Sorry about that. But anyway, if it's got if this has outside brackets, it is optional. As you can see, everything get child option is optional. But we could pass multiple paths to it, and it would give us multiple responses. So what we could do is it takes an array of strings. So we could do get child item. I don't know. What do we want? We want the E drive, and we want desktop. And there you go. You get a list of everything. Now, that's basically the help system. Oh, actually, sorry about that. One of the most important things about the help system, is you can get child item, help get child item, and you use the example parameter. Well, this one did not have an example. Let's see if we can find another one that actually has an example. Let's take get process. Alright, get process doesn't have one. Let's do get AD user. None of them have them. Okay, that's really weird. Anyway, if it doesn't have an example, you can use dash online, and what this will do is it'll bring up the PowerShell commandlets online, the help online for you to take a look at. And some of the most important things are, you can come down here and you can say, oh, is it required? True. That's why I'm a little rusty on actually reading from PowerShell help. I mostly just have the commandlets I'm working on, the commandlet reference up in a browser, and I just look, oh, is it required? Yes or no. And that's mostly what I look at there. So if you come all the way down, you have your examples, which are some of the most important parts of the help. So that's really nice. You can just go, bam, I want to get online, I want to look at it. You can just do help get AD user, get help any commandlet dash online. Now, the takeaway from all this is objects are really nice. They'll grab data quicker than using a GUI if you know what you're looking for. GUIs are still nice for exploring. In fact, I use ADSI edit all the time to pop in here, and if I don't know what a property name is, sometimes I'll just look through here, I'll find it. Yeah, my server needs a secretary, so if I'm looking for properties or something like that, like GUIs are good at discoverability, they're okay at that, but if you know what you're doing and you want to codify what you're doing in a script, so you can always, so you never have to do it again, or so you can look back and see how you did it. Those are the big things that PowerShell really brings to it, is that you can do stuff like that, and if you know what you're looking for, you can access it really, really quickly. That is really the power of a command line interface, and scripting and automating stuff like that. Now, tasks for the viewer. This isn't really homework, but if you're up to it, these might be some good exercise. These are some good exercises for you guys to do. Go out of your way to use PowerShell for everything. If you can do it reasonably, I would recommend start just doing everything PowerShell. Use help, use the online help, go to the resources I'm going to have in the comments, reddit.com/r/PowerShell, the PowerShell IRC, a couple books that I like, 2 books that I like, one I haven't read but it does look very good, and one, PowerShell on Monthly Lunches. It's a great book, great resource. Also, the next one is start thinking of repetitive tasks that you do every day, or that you just do on some sort of repeating, but every day is probably the best, that you can automate. User account creation, virtual machine creation, anything like that, and try and look for ways to automate it. Next episode will most likely be on basic PowerShell scripting syntax, and that'll be that. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.